Good evening, everybody. Telling you, I've got the best producer or producers actually in the world. They keep me laughing from for the show until the end, so it's all good. How are you this evening? I am excited and delighted as always to be here. I was thinking though, there's so much that I want to share with you. And oftentimes we get on the air and it's 2 seconds into the show and there's somebody to talk with. Don't get me wrong, I definitely want to do readings, though I did want to share a couple of things. Typically, the Halley Elise show over the years, and there's been a lot of them, more than 2 decades, have to do not only with psychic readings, but also have had to do with sharing information that I truly believe is of value on a spiritual end, on a holistic end, sometimes community. I want to get back to bringing guests on the air. And I thought that's kind of exciting for you. I work with a couple of production people who, over the years, have introduced me to some amazing individuals that I think you should know about. And I have a few on the schedule that I'll be bringing forth. Hopefully, I will get it together in respect to being able to tell you exactly when things are happening. I've been working on it. Technology and I, though, sometimes we're friends, sometimes we are not. You'll have to forgive me with that part. Okay, all of that said, I had been having a conversation with someone earlier today, a gentleman who's had a very adverse upbringing and yet turned it around. And it reminded me so much so of quotes that I've heard over the years in respect to looking at things from a different perspective. If you think about Mr. Mandela, who was in prison, who came out and made a difference in this world, if you look at individuals who were in the Holocaust and yet survived and raised children, if you look at individuals from Africa and all over the world who have gone through so much, and yet they've superseded their circumstance and become leaders or have become influencers, which is really the term we use today, right? When there's somebody that we check in with, influencers. My whole point to all of this is life sometimes is difficult. We can keep focusing on the thing that's driving us crazy or keep focusing on the difficulty, and then we just continue to do that. And I've spoken before multiple times about all things are energy. And Dr. Wayne Dyer was really great about that. He talked about an acorn falling from a tree, and that within it was the makeup, was the essential parts that would create a tree. Yet the acorn, and this is my saying, that is, wasn't going to lay around on the ground and say, oh, poor me, I'm just an acorn. We too are like that acorn. We have an essence within that can supersede any circumstance. We have that amazing ability to shine. We have an amazing ability to truly age backwards. When I say that, I have no problem with being my age. I'm 61, and I have no problem with anybody saying, oh, you're old. Because my retort to that is, no, I'm not. I'm just my age. I'm just 61. I mean, I could live another 5 years. I could live another 100 years. Well, 100 might be pushing it, but you get the gist. There was experiments that were done and have been done over the years with taking folks that are elders and putting them into environments where it's representational of when they were younger, perhaps 20 years younger. In certain cases, it was even more than that. But they would surround them and immerse them with things from their childhood or things from their youth. They would do all their vital signs beforehand. And I know I've spoken about this before, so if you feel it's redundant, I apologize. But I just feel like it's so important because, and I'll circle back to the gentleman that I was talking about earlier, so often in these tests, they have the individual get checked out beforehand. And usually it's not one person, it's several people they have doing these types of things. And they'll check measurements such as how tall are they and what's their weight and how much energy do they have and what's their blood pressure, what's their count in respect to their vitamins. So they do a lot of blood work, but they also do things such as their girth. And they do things in respect to how do they walk? Are they ambulatory? And then they check in with them after they do these little experiments. I know one case they did 2 weeks. I know another case they had done 5 days, and both separate And I wish I would have thought about this beforehand. I was thinking about it, but I didn't really have all the information in front of me. I'll have to do some research and remember to share. Or better yet, if you have an opportunity, connect with me on LinkedIn or on Facebook, and I'll be happy to find things and give you additional information. But I digress here. The whole point to all of this is these folks were immersed in a previous existence. They were immersed in an environment that actually made them younger. When they were released from the environment that they were in, and they were retested in all the ways that they were tested initially before they went into the experiment, some of them weren't walking. Some of them were very cumbersome in their movements. Some of them were very heavy. And if you're thinking, oh my gosh, nobody's dropped like that much weight in 2 seconds flat. No, however, the folks that were overweight actually came out lighter. I believe one was 10 pounds lighter, one was 2 pounds lighter. And the food they were eating were all the foods that they ate when they were younger. So hot dogs, hamburgers, uh, perhaps shakes, meaning there was no qualification in respect to the food being healthy for being fit. It was a matter of, again, immersion. What if we did that on a daily basis? And actually, there are several programs out right now. I'll mention one in specific. Christopher Duncan has the magnetic mind method, which touches on this, not that specifically, but it touches on the fact that what we do within here changes everything outside. And we actually have the ability, and neuroscience keeps showing us this, to change the synapses in our brain, to create new outcomes. Why is it that we get so stuck in the old? Oh, well, I'm getting older. So, it's natural. I can't walk, or I have an ache, or this bad thing is happening, or I can't. Or focusing just on, "Ugh, I don't like where I'm living, and I'm going to be miserable because I'm living in this space. And even though this space is okay, it's not what I want. So I'm going to be unhappy." It's a choice, truly. And the choice itself is an energy. What we focus on expands. Now, all of this said, and again, I make reference to this a lot. However, there's a corollary between your intuition. There's a corollary between believing and knowing and being prepared for what comes through this way. This gent that I was talking about earlier had a very arduous upbringing, very tough. His mom was, we'll just say, not an individual who probably should have had children. There are lots of circumstances that were extenuating. He ended up with his grandparent. His grandparent passed away not all that long after. But what I thought was fascinating and fantastic is she had an awareness of all the things that I'm speaking of. She had left something in place for him, for someone to come about and teach him meditation. Now, he was 9 or 10 years old at the time. And if you're thinking, well, that's silly, why would you teach a child about meditation? The grandparent knew that it could change this person's life. And in fact, it did. With meager upbringing, with truly an upbringing that would make anybody cry, this person superseded their own expectation. He ended up becoming very involved with sports and becoming like number one in the sports arena. He ended up having a family that he cherishes. He ended up having not only the home he wants, but the lifestyle and the money. And it just goes on and on and on. Now you could say, oh, well, I'm the way that I am because, my teachers, my parents, my whatever. Or we can say, where I am is just one part of who I am. It's an aspect. And you know what a perfect analogy is? We all have different friends. You have that friend that loves the crazy, beat 'em up, fire 'em up types of movies with car chases. And you might go with that friend and get excited and watch the content and say, oh my gosh, it's so silly, so ridiculous. And then you might get excited and go, wow, let's go after that. That's great. And then you have the friend that you go out with for fine dining to a five-star restaurant with the white linens. Different aspects of ourselves need to be satisfied. I'm not saying that we cannot focus or concentrate on something specific. So, if, for instance, you wanted to be an attorney or a singer or somebody in the movies, that could be your primary focus, but it doesn't define you. It is not your only focus. What else are you focusing on? Where is your attention? Where is your personal energy going? Is it kept within and you only share with friends that are close? Or do you allow yourself to say, you know what? I want more. I want bigger. I want better. And know that you can have it. The whole, oh, but you weren't raised that way, or, well, you don't know how to do it. Seriously? Doesn't mean anything. In all honesty, when my daughter was little and I was first divorced, I felt that I wanted to go teach and I wanted to teach meditation. I learned from Shakti Gawain. Some of you might be familiar with that name, some not. It's an older name. She's since passed. I didn't study with her directly. I studied through her teachings, through her writings, through content that I found, because I already felt as if there was something there. There was the impetus there to do something connected to that. And I meditated since, it's really funny when I thought about it, I was about 5 years old. Didn't know that's what it was. It was just something that I did. And I didn't recognize that till I was probably 15, 16, maybe 17 years old. It was just something that I did. It's pretty amazing when we think about who we are, not how do we represent, not how do we show up, not how we're being judged by everybody around us, but who are we? Now you could say, well, I'm a mom, or I'm a sister, or I'm a child, or I am a teacher, or what have you. However, that's not all who you are. Give some thought to that, because truly the basis of who you are becomes much more. I'll wrap this up very quickly because I believe we have a Joe Dean, if I read that correctly, on the line, and I want to talk with them. But the whole idea of teaching at a university, I did not at that point have really a lot of credentials. I was young. I was a young mom. And all I knew though was that I wanted to do it. And I had a meeting with the administrator and I said, what do I need to do to teach as an adjunct facilitator? He gave me the things that I needed to do. And it was a short list. It was 5 things, including, of course, getting my little fingers fingerprinted, because if you're in the educational system, they need to do a check on you. I went ahead, I did everything, and quickly moved into a space as a meditation teacher. Loved it, absolutely loved it. And actually, there are a couple of people who were in my class way back when who since then have embraced their spirituality and who they are and have become very well known in this world. The point is, if you connect with who you are and you embrace that, there isn't anything you can't accomplish. Let go of the stuff on the side, let go of the naysayers. You can listen to them and smile and shake your head, tell them thank you for sharing, but you be you. Okay. Hello there. Is it Jodine? Did I catch that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, great. And was that Sioux Falls?
Yes.
Okay. I was just checking because I was busy running my mouth and your name flashed up. I wanted to make sure I got it correctly.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Did you have a particular question that you wanted to begin with, or did you want me to just simply share whatever pops up?
Um, I guess I'm not really sure. If you could just share what pops up. I'm kind of new to this, and yeah.
Okay, good. So the first thing I'll tell you is I'm not scary. Well, I guess it could be, but I'm not scary as far as anything I'm going to share. I'm very mindful about sharing information that's constructive and helpful and loving and kind. So, right off the bat, you can take a nice deep breath and know that I'm not going to say anything that's going to scare you or make you run screaming. So that's first off. As far
Works
as
for
being new
me.
Okay, good. As far as being new to this, I find that an interesting statement because I feel like you're actually very tuned in. You're not always turned on. And what I mean by that is you are very aware of a lot of things that come about. You have amazing, I'm going to say, visibility and respect to what's in your environment and with other people. And that's part of intuition. That's part of honoring your spirit, your soul. The turned on part is being aware of it on a regular basis. But just know that you already have that foot in the door. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I am one
Okay.
that definitely I always have to be aware of my surroundings and yeah.
Yes. And this has been with you since you were little. I'm just mentioning this because I feel like if you want to develop your skills even more, you could do so easily. So kind of keep that in the back of your head because you have some natural gifts there that you wouldn't have to work too hard at to develop them and to bring them to the surface. And especially if you don't come from a place of fear, you come from heart space, knowing that whatever comes to you, you'd like to use it for your benefit and the benefit of others. Now, that doesn't mean all of a sudden you have to be on the radio or on TV and doing psychic stuff. But what it does mean is if you are more attentive, if you are more aware of your own gifts, then more information comes to you on a consistent basis, which in general makes life easier to deal with. So just keep that in mind. The other thing here too is I feel like you get a lot of information when you're sleeping. There's a lot of activity in your dream time, excuse me. I get
Very much.
Yeah, it's just interesting because I got a whole bunch of stuff going on here. And I feel like when you wake up, it's not that you're unrested, but it's as if you were out of town traveling and you're having to start your day by getting it together. But
Yes.
it's because you're receiving a lot of information in your sleep. You may want to, before you go to sleep at night, just say, I'm open to receiving information, but in the most gentle of ways. Literally make that statement. I'm open to receiving in the most gentle of ways. I feel like it'll be a little easier for you to digest and also easier for you to remember if you ask for it to come in with some fluidity, with some softness and gentility. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing here is really good and very sensitive with nature, which I think most of us are that are sensitive to the spirit world as well. Anytime you're around animals, they see more of you than you see. And what I mean by that is if you look in the mirror, you see who you are, right? You see that physical form. But animals, because you are projecting a bigger energy, they notice more. And that simply means if you're wondering sometimes, like, oh, why is that animal looking at me? It's because they're recognizing more than just your physical form. And I feel like dogs and cats, especially, and squirrels, seem to notice that a lot around you. And you'll
Yes.
notice too, like if you're just still, you'll have like a little animal that'll be close by and they just kind of stop again because they're observing that field of energy. So that said, you just have to get a bit more confident about who you are as a person. And I say that because I feel that you can be very protective and very, I'll say, not even positive, but assertive. That's the word I'm going to say. Assertive with others when they need to stand up, when they need something done. Like you are the best cheerleader for people that you love. You're not always that good for yourself. I'd like to make a little suggestion, and that is write down your top three things that you want to see happen this month. And this is not so much about coaching as it is about directing your energy, because again, I just feel like you are so much stronger than you're aware of. Really take a moment when you can and write down the top three things that you'd like to see come into form, into manifest this month. And then just put it somewhere where you notice it every day. It could be in a drawer with other clothes. It could be on a refrigerator. It could be inside of the medicine cabinet, wherever. But just put it so that even though you're not reading it every time you see it, there's an awareness of it. And I feel like just that alone is going to enhance your ability to attract faster. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I am not a medical person. I have no medical training. The overall feel, though, is sensitivities, sensations that I get. And one of the things that comes up for me is pay attention to your vitamin A and also your vitamin C. I'm not sure exactly
Okay.
what vitamin A does offhand, but I do know that vitamin C is not only good as far as an antioxidant, but it's also good for muscles and tissue and all of that. But I'm just getting vitamin A as being important. Make sure you take a look at your diet and see where you can increase that. And if you want to double check, obviously go get a blood test like a CBC, which is just a basic test, so that you could see exactly where your levels are. Also, I'm hearing potassium. Take a look at your potassium. And if you don't like bananas, find it in other foods. I am going to say too, I get you have some food sensitivities. And when I say sensitivity, it doesn't mean an allergy. For instance, I don't get like eating shrimp and sneezing your head off. It's more like eating something and then maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, you have like a dull headache and wondering what the heck is that? It's not the atmosphere, it's not stress, it's actually food. So just pay attention to when you're feeling a little, I'll say foggy headed or head achy, and ask yourself, what did I eat or what did I drink within the last 20, 30 minutes? Because I feel like you'll be able to identify very quickly what it is. Okay.
Okay.
Um, oh, interesting. Our producer here is letting us know that vitamin A is critical for vision as well as lots of other things. So something to pay
Oh.
attention to. Sounds like somebody wants attention in the background there, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's
Okay. Well, speaking of the little one, that's somebody who you definitely want to give a lot of things that are artistic, a lot of things that they can put their hands into, because this is a kid who is filled with a great imagination. I mean, all kidding aside, this is a child who, if you give two sticks and a rubber band, they're going to figure out how to make something with it. So
yep.
anything you can do to feed that imagination is going to be really good. The other thing is think drama. And when I say drama, not as in, oh my God, you're such a drama queen. I don't mean that. I mean drama as in being on stage. Now, you do have a little of the first
Wow.
part, a little drama, but this is
That's
definitely a child who would do well
that's
on stage.
definitely amazing that you said that because she is one who loves singing.
Mhm.
It's like she just loves.
Every chance, really and truly, that you can let this little one be the star, do. Because really, the whole feeling here is this is a part of their nature. This is not just a phase. This is who they're becoming. And so if you can cultivate that, you're going to be very happy that you did. There's also a tendency, believe it or not, to do really well in math. Not right now. We're in 2024. Yes, 5, 6, 7. I'd say between 2027 and 2029, you're going to see this interesting little turn where there's a lot of interest in math and doing exceptionally well. But not right now. So there needs to be a little
For
time for the
sure.
patience. Okay. Also, I'm going to go back to you here again. When it comes to romance, you need to make some time for that. I mean, I know you know that intellectually, but it's time to say, okay, I'm going to put it in my schedule. It helps you maintain your ability to do lots of things because you're always busy. Even if you're just sitting still, your mind is like it's always going. And it's important to take good care of, I was saying earlier today, as far as all the different facets of ourself, you are a romantic soul. Now, I don't mean that everything
Very.
has to be roses every single day, but it is a part of your core nature. It's time to plan it into your week. You can't do every day, that's understandable. And honestly, every day might get boring, but you need to plan it in because that part of you, that part of your soul needs to be nurtured. So if nobody else is doing it for you, you do it for you. And what I mean by that is if you're not getting that attention romantically, go take a walk in a beautiful garden and just literally sniff flowers. Go get a hand massage or a foot massage. Like do things for you that have to do with nurturing and getting into that romantic mood. Do you have a
Okay.
specific question you'd like to address, then?
Um, no.
No. Is that a yes or a no?
No.
Okay. Then I will tell you that it's time for you to get back to the things that you wanted to do when you were a young teenager. I feel like family has become important, which it should be. However, you're not mm, you're not taking as good of care of you as you could. And part of that, we'll say, drama that your little one has, you have a little of that too. You should be playing with that. You should be expressing that a bit more. The other part here is I feel like you would be an amazing creative writer. So give some thought to keeping a journal or a notebook, which is something where you can write your thoughts, write your notes down. Because I feel like there's something there that you can birth into this world and something that you could leave as a legacy for your family. Okay, my friend?
Okay.
Thank you so much for calling. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night.
You as well. Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
My pleasure. If you'd like to reach out to me, of course, you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn. You can call the office directly during regular hours or off hours, and I just won't get the phone. It's 561-755-2166. If you'd like to have a private session that can be done over the phone, can be done in person. I work with folks outside of the country as well as inside of the country, and I'm happy to have a chat. The other thing is, please remember, really and truly, you have more power than you think.